Welcome to another Explainer. I am incredibly excited to dive into things with you today because we are tracing humanity's epic quest to literally replicate reality on a screen. We're going to journey all the way from the biological mechanics of your very own eyesight right up to the absolute cutting edge of artificial intelligence and virtual reality. We're going to unpack exactly how images are built to trick our brains and how massive new tools are completely changing the game for who gets to build those images.
Here is our quick roadmap for today. We'll start with the biology of 3D, move into the rules of virtual depth, look at the 8K VR leap, explore crafting AI 3D documentaries, and wrap it all up with the economics of AI.
All right, let's jump right into Section 1, the biology of 3D, grounding the mechanics of vision.
So it all starts with a biological anchor. Think about your own face for a second. Our human eyes are spaced roughly 2.5 inches apart. That's your inner ocular distance. Because of this tiny 6-centimeter gap, your left and right eyes are constantly taking in the exact same scene, but from slightly different angles. This horizontal offset, it is the literal foundation of everything we're talking about today.
Now, this brings us to a concept called stereopsis. Your eyes capture those two different angles, but you don't walk around seeing double, right? Stereopsis is the biological magic where your brain actively fuses those two separate images together to calculate distance. It's an absolute real-time computational marvel happening inside your head every waking second, which honestly is pretty impressive considering most of us still occasionally forget where we left our keys. Moving on to Section 2, Rules of Virtual Depth, teaching cameras how to see. The crucial takeaway here is that if we want a screen to look 3D, we have to fake that human biology and effectively trick those magnificent brains of ours. We do this by using a pair of matched cameras, literally mimicking human binocular vision. By placing two lenses spaced at that exact same 2.5-inch adult eye distance, we artificially recreate our binocular disparity. We are basically building mechanical eyes. But in the world of cinematography, we have a very specific vocabulary for all this.
To build up our visual vocabulary, let's define interaxial. This simply translates our human eye distance into the camera world. But unlike our skulls, which are rigidly fixed, camera rigs are fully adjustable. So the interaxial distance is just the physical space between the left and right camera lenses.
Adjusting this interaxial distance gives creators an unbelievable amount of power. It's kind of like a volume knob for depth. The wider the interaxial, meaning the further apart you move those lenses, the more depth you actively capture, stretching out the 3D effect. Move them closer together, and the depth flattens right out. You are literally controlling how intense the 3D space feels to the human brain.
Next up is convergence. Think about when you look at an object really close to your face, your eyes physically turn inward to focus on it. Cameras do the exact same thing. Convergence dictates where an object sits relative to the screen, and it's achieved by slightly towing in or angling the camera lenses toward a specific point. Wherever those two camera views intersect, that is your convergence point. Finally, we have parallax, which governs the illusion of depth on your display. You can push objects deep behind the screen like you're looking through a window, that's positive parallax. You can lay them completely flat with zero parallax, or you can use negative parallax for that classic 3D movie effect, where objects pop right out at your face. Mastering these three rules is exactly how we historically built 3D experiences. Okay, Section 3, the 8K VR leap, breaking the resolution myth. We really need to debunk a massive myth right here, because it trips up a lot of people. You might see a VR camera labeled as 4K and think, wow, that sounds incredibly sharp. Well, it's not, because a VR headset wraps the image around a massive 108-degree field of view. Those 4K pixels get stretched incredibly thin. To your eye, a standard 4K capture actually looks like a blurry 480p or 720p video. It's rough. This makes the jump to 8K VR capture absolutely essential. An 8K pipeline is the bare minimum baseline required just to deliver a crisp, modern 1080p effective resolution to your eyes.
But beyond just raw pixels, VR creators must strictly adhere to physical rules. If you build a virtual cityscape, the buildings absolutely must maintain a realistic scale relative to the human avatar. If the scale is off even slightly, the viewer feels instantly disoriented, like motion sickness disoriented. To achieve this realism, modern VR uses photorealistic pipelines like Unreal Engine, applying complex PBR, or physically based rendering shaders, to ensure that light bounces off virtual textures exactly as it would in the real world.
Let's pivot slightly to Section 4,
Crafting AI 3D Documentaries, the new digital frontier for creators.
If you want to create a highly immersive AI documentary today, here is the actionable step-by-step workflow. First, you prompt an AI to generate an initial base 3D image. Second, and this is a massive point of focus, you must strictly adjust your framing to the YouTube ratio 69. The YouTube ratio 69 is the absolute gold standard for documentary formatting, providing that wide cinematic canvas that viewers just instinctively expect. Generating in the wrong ratio instantly breaks the professional illusion. And finally, you import your script using a high-quality, cloned AI voiceover.
Now here is a really critical technical note for this format. Notice how we use voiceover rather than making the AI character speak directly to the camera. Relying entirely on narration rather than lip sync is a very deliberate choice. Current AI lip sync often looks just a little bit unnatural, falling straight into the uncanny valley. By using sweeping 3D shots paired with strong narration instead, you avoid confusing the viewer with weird, jittery mouth movements, and you maintain a highly believable, premium documentary style.
But as these tools become freely available to everyone, there's a real danger. As one of our sources warrants, to stand out from the literal millions of fully automated low-effort videos out there, you have to inject your own unique personality. If you rely on AI for the core heavy lifting, you must provide the creative soul. Using your real voice, injecting your unique humor, or testing your own angles is basically the only way to avoid producing generic, valueless content that people are starting to call AI slop.
Which brings us to our final section, Section 5, the economics of AI. The intelligence subsidy.
Prepare to be surprised here because the real computing value of these new tools is drastically higher than their sticker price. Get ready for a pretty wild number: $700.
Right now, a standard $20 top-tier AI subscription actually delivers roughly $700 in raw computing power. The major tech companies are heavily subsidizing the cost of this intelligence while they fight tooth and nail for market dominance and prepare for massive IPOs. And this brings us to a fascinating modern economic reality which ties directly into the concept of the hidden cost of being poor. If you lack the small upfront capital or just the willingness to spend that $20, you don't just save $20, you are actively locked out of $700 worth of computation leverage and automation every single month. By saving a few bucks, you pay a massive hidden tax in lost time, lost quality, and lost productivity. That is the hidden cost of being poor in the digital age.
This economic reality creates a radically unfair game in the creator economy right now. Choosing to ignore these subsidized tools means you are actively choosing to lag 6 months behind the frontier. It is literally the difference between 1x productivity and 100x productivity. Sticking to old methods in today's landscape is exactly like stubbornly bringing a manual typewriter to a modern computer fight. Sure, you'll look incredibly hip at the local coffee shop, but you're inevitably going to lose the fight.
We'll conclude our explainer today with this vital question to ponder as you step back out into the world. You now understand how we capture depth, how we render it in 8K VR, and how AI can generate it all automatically. The tools to build completely immersive realities have literally never been more accessible or more heavily subsidized than they are right this second. So the question is, are you adopting these tools to multiply your capabilities, or are you still fighting with a typewriter? Thank you so much for joining me today, and I'll see you on the next explainer.